Yo, welcome back to Real Talk. I'm your host, again, AKINSKY. Hey, I got an interesting question, dog. Where is the creator of civilization? And don't say Africa, because it's definitely not. If you say, how you figure that? Not a problem. Let's deal with it. All right, I'm going to say it's Asia, and I'll explain exactly why. Now, there was Adam and Eve, right? Adam was the first man. All right, so what's the name of the planet? The name of the planet is not Earth. That's English. Only reason why people think is Earth is because there's a phrase called English everywhere. This means in every language that somebody asks the name of the planet, majority of people on the planet gonna say Earth. All right, and sorry, not true. That's now after the transatlantic slave trade people say that. But what about before the English language it was even invented? Because we got to keep it real. The first language was Hebrew and Aramaic. Then after that was the Latin or the Grecian tongue, and then it was what is known as Spanish and Italian. And we didn't even mention English yet. And for the record, white people didn't speak English originally. They spoke Russian. All right. People sit back and say, well, they don't speak Russian in America. You sure about that? Well, people sit back and say they don't speak English in America, or they don't speak Russian in America. My question is, you ever heard of Das Vidanya? That's how they say goodbye in Russian. Everybody in America say the word duh. That's saying yeah in Russian. But yet everybody in the world heard the word duh in America, so they definitely speak Russian in America. But let's leave it here then. But Hoti and so forth, that's still not English. Now, the Bible says Adam was the first man. The word man in Hebrew, which is one of the first languages, Hebrew Aramaic, the first languages. The word Adam was how you say man. But wait a minute now, the name of the planet is named after Adam, which is the phrase Adamah. So when the Bible says Adam was born from the dust of the ground, the phrase dust of the ground or soil or dirt is Adamah. So the earth is actually Adamah. And the most interesting part about it is that when people actually look up the phrase Adamah, the only location where the place called Adamah is actually in Iraq, which is technically Western Asia. Adamah. Now, the interesting part about that is, since it's Adamah, then people say, well, there was Pangea. Right? The root word of Pangea is Gaia. That's the Grecian tongue, or Gi. Right? So Gaia or Gi, that's the Grecian tongue. We're talking before the Greek language is even spoken. So it's still Adamah. Most people don't remember the planet they live on. Adamah. Interesting. Now, the first bricks, the first cities, the first towns, the first civilizations, the first structures was ziggurats. Hold on for a minute. If the ziggurats was in Iraq and the ziggurats in Mishima, ancient Mexico, and there's Anunnaki statues in Iraq and Anunnaki statues in Ecuador, which is South America, hold up, stop right there. Because from Canada, North America, Mishima or Mexico, South America, Cuba, the Cayman Islands, Dominican Republic, Hawaii, Jamaica, all that is Adam. All that is Azaraf. Now the word Azaraf is the original name of America. Azaraf or Amaruka. That's before America Vespucci, right? Because America Vespucci, that's not even his real name. He took that name after he was with Christopher Columbus and they invaded this land, right? So that's a fact. This land was either of thousands of years before the Grecians. Well, the landmass of Greece was stolen by the Russians, right? Historically factual shit, right? But so that would mean and so forth. A lot of people don't know the history of this planet in the first place. Now, when people want to sit back, go back to how people say they think it's Africa, I'm gonna tell you why that's not nowhere near true. There's no way possible it's Africa, because during the 1800s, during the during the slave trade, you know, say before this, way before the civil rights movement. But if you go back to the 1800s, this is when the French government, right? The French. This is when the which is considered as the Dark Ages. Well, right after the Dark Ages, the Renaissance period. All right. So it was known as the French government, which had a giant freaking battle, a humongous revolution, and then it was the French government stole or colonized Kibelon and started calling it Africa after Africa Vespuccius. I mean Africanus. Africanus was the name of a dude from France. Africanus was why it was named Africa, after one tribe in Africa. Now, I don't know if people know anything about Africa. Africa is not a daggone country. It's a continent, which means there's over 50-something countries in Africa. Afri is one tribe. Not everybody's from Afri. Ever heard of the Afro-Europeans? That's saying Europeans, Afro-Europeans. But Europe is technically part of Asia, not Africa. Let me explain this part. There is a phrase called Afro-Eurasia. Remember the last word, Asia, right? They mean Africa part of Asia as well. Then it's Eurasia, the predates it, right? Which is Asia. And the first part of it is Asia. Pacific Western and Eastern Asia. Going back to Gayal Tepe, which is ancient Turkey, and Mesopotamia, which is ancient Iraq. The cradle of civilization. But here's the interesting part about that. If Iraq is Western Asia, which it is, then why nobody ever look at history from the Asiatic perspective? We always learn history from the German perspective. I'm not German. I'm a melanated, dark-skinned Asian. My ancestors from Iraq, not Germany. Now think about this. We're Negroes or Negritos. We're Asian then. Us blacks and Hispanics, Aboriginal, Semitic, Asiatic, we are Asian. We're not African. We never was. Why nobody look at history from the Asiatic perspective and not the German perspective? I'm not German. And when people say, well, wait a minute. That's why Africans speak French. Precisely because the French government stole Africa. Same way how, well, when they talk about the French government, you got to remember so forth, the Russians invaded Europe. There were the Europeans, which are fact. Hold up, let me explain this real quick. Noah had Japhet, Ham, and Shem. Japhet were the first Europeans. These were blacks. There was Ham, Africans. These were black. There was Shem. These are black and Hispanic. But wait a minute, these are Asian. But wait a minute, a dad is older than his sons, right? True. So if Japhet, Ham, and Shem are Noah's sons, this is after the Great Flood, right? All right. So there was Japhet, Ham, and Shem that came after their dad, Noah. Now, where was Noah born? Iraq. Abraham is older than Noah, right? He was born in Iraq. Moses was around. He was born in Iraq. Adam and Eve was born in Iraq. So Iraq is a current civilization at that point, right? Since all demographics of people came from out of the people that was left after the whole world was destroyed, but yet the people that were living before the world was destroyed came from Iraq. So just same genetics mean that everybody came from Iraq. So when people talk about the Fertile Crescent, the interesting part about that, do y'all even know what the Fertile Crescent is? That's the Mesopotamia, Iraq, and Mesmerim, the northern tip of Africa, right? Okay. So why is it and so forth? People say, well, majority of the slaves that were black people came from out of the tribe of Igbo. Oh, word? Igbo? You talking about Nigerian? Not a fucking problem, because the Igbo tribe is from the south side of Yasharala, south side of Israel. Israel's still Asian. That means the northern kingdom was in this was in this land before. So northern or southern kingdom is still Israel. Israel, well, that's Yasharala. Real name of Israel, Yasharala. That's still Asian. But yet, the people in the Bible, there's no Yasharala. We would have came from what land before we found Yasharala. Now we're talking about Moses. So where did Moses come from? Moses' ancestors was from where? If Moses was a Hebrew, but Hebrew started out from Eber, from Dagon, Iraq, Mesopotamia, the greatest civilization. That's the Middle East or Western Asia. So where did Moses where Adam and Eve was? Adam and Eve were Moses' ancestors, right? So that means everybody on the planet is technically Asian. So we was never African. Stop the lies. We was never African. That's the French government. Why do you think Africa speak French? Parallel? Français? Oui, oui? No. I don't speak French. Because I'm not African. I'm Hebrew. Thyself is Hebrew. Us blacks, Hispanic, Native, Aboriginal, Semitic, Asiatic, we all Hebrew. Everyone technically is actually Asian. But we just melanated people, labeled as minorities, is actually Asiatic. We was never African. The pale people lied. We was never African. Africa isn't even African. I want people to understand that. Not even Africans are technically African. And we definitely ain't even African. Africans ain't even African. We're not even African. Nobody is. Because most people is not born from out of the lineage of Africanus from France. Not everybody's French. Now, unless that self is French, that ass ain't African. Understand? It's the part about it. Hope y'all enjoyed that. I'm your host, ANAKINSKY. Real talk. Free the mind, free the people, y'all.